Back here on Cricbuzz Live, we've been welcoming the new fortress back, the Sawai Man Singh Stadium in Jaipur. I wonder if it's auspicious as part of this whole ushering in that you have to have a little bit of rain just when they were spot on course for 185 to finish their innings off, which of course has nothing to do with mathematics or cricketing knowledge. It's just a little banter we had.
13 balls left.
13 balls left.
13 balls left. I think they were headed towards another 24.
And for you?
Joy's gone.
17.
Joy's gone.
170. Look,
Joy's
I
gone.
need to 173 and I win it. It's only after 174 does his bet come into operation. So till 173 it's mine.
Are you also the world's best net run rate calculator? Trying to look at everything. But yeah, I mean.
Well, for now, let's stick to 153 for 5 in 17.5. Let's just go on the assumption that this is where we are at this stage. We know around 150 was an average score there, but we're still talking about this ground favouring chasing sides.
Yeah,
clearly.
But just remember, if this is where Delhi Daredevils start chasing, they will have to score a few runs more than 153 to win the game in the same number of overs, because Duckworth Lewis will sort of forecast how much they would have scored and then bring it back to 17.5. So they could well be chasing 160, 160, something like that in the same number of overs.
Yeah, I think that definitely. But what might also happen is it's not that their spinners were anyway great, but if there's so much water in the pitch and there's any amount of water and moisture out there, the ball, any spinner is not going to find it easy to grip. So Gautam is going to have a tough time of just getting some
Which
sort
one
of
now are we talking about?
And that Gautam.
Krishnappa.
Not the batting Gautam.
Krishnappa Gautam.
Gautam.
Ah.
Okay, so
Gautam.
we call him Gautam, Gambhir, and then this anchor chap.
Okay.
Right, fair enough. Now that's sorted. Start of the innings. Now, if this was social media, they would be all over a chap called Short, who fell short for the second time around.
Poor chap. I mean, people are tweeting that no bowler seems to be able to get shot out. They don't have a chance. he never gives them a chance.
I thought he had a little grouse today. I didn't think there was a second. Either that or he ran the first run too slowly. So when he turned for the second, there clearly was no second. But you see, by then Rahane was already committed to the second. And he's a young man playing the IPL, but he's also realized if the captain's running, you run. But I don't think there was a second once he ran the first that slowly. So he's probably just going out in the next game when he goes out to bat thinking these ones and twos are not working for me.
Now, once that was done, we were expecting a lot of possibilities, perhaps even Rahul Tripathi, a lot of options, but certainly not Ben Stokes.
No. Maybe they just want to, maybe they thought it's a bit rusty. Maybe they thought just go out, play your shots. Maybe they wanted an enforcer at the start and then Butler at the end, get their big players out as quickly as possible. Also, maybe space out Rahane and Samson. That's the point I'd made in the morning show. Rahane has a career average strike rate of 118, Samson 122. So maybe just want to space them out. Having said that, Samson was excellent today.
He was brilliant, absolutely brilliant today, and he seemed to be a guy again at peace with himself. See, one of the big problems that Delhi had last year, if you see with Sanju Samson, what they did with him, is that Rahul Dravid assumed that every player thinks like him and is happy to play in any position as long as it's for the good of the team. Now, there are very few people with that balance who can take it. So you play Samson today at 3, then you say you played very well at 3, but next match the team needs you at 5. Most players find it very difficult to wrap their heads around it, and most players would say, I scored 50 at 3, put me to 5, he doesn't like me.
I know before the show we were chatting, and Harsha, you reckon Ambati Rayudu was one of those guys.
Just send him anywhere. I have a lot of time for Ambati Rayudu. You send him anywhere. You make him keep wickets, he'll keep wickets. You send him to open, he'll open. You send him as a finisher at 6, he'll go out there. You send him at 3, he'll go out there.
Don't forget that he's from Hyderabad.
Manade. Anyone, right?
You're talking about my KKR connections. I full disclosure, boss. This show is all about full disclosure.
Let's put you back in that dugout. When you see decisions happening like that, I mean, say Sunil Narayan being an example, we knew that the precedent had been set in the Big Bash, but where does that decision come from? I mean, in KKR, obviously Gambhir would play a big part. Rahane is still a new captain, still a learning captain. Total Shane Warne?
I think Warne is going to be running a lot of this team, and there is only one way. See, again, we go back to this whole thing. No IPL team has this balance between coach and captain. It doesn't work. Either the coach calls the shots or the captain calls the shots. Okay, and in this case, it's clearly the coach who's calling the shots, because I think somebody like Shane Warne would have even negotiated that. If I come back, it's my team. Because he doesn't work saying.
Very interesting discussion. If someone asked him whose team would it be if you were captain.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And remember, he used to talk about captain saying the only good coaches are the ones that carry the team to the field.
Correct.
But to answer your question, would that have changed had it not been Ajinkya Rahane there, but a certain Stephen Peter Devereux Smith?
I don't know, but I do believe that this Stokes thing would have been the coach's choice. Rahane is out there in the middle, unless it was all planned earlier. But sometimes you can say, look, if Darcy Short is going strong, and if Rahane gets out, then maybe we'll send Samson in. At any given point, there's 4 or 5 people bat it up. So maybe the thinking was, if Short gets out, then Stokes goes in because you got another left-hander going in. If Rahane gets out, then maybe you got a Samson going in. So maybe they would have worked it out that way.
Yeah, they 100% they would have discussed that in the team meeting. They would have discussed those plans. They would have made those options. And then somebody sitting outside, unless the captain inside specifically said send somebody specifically in, it won't happen. They'll just go according to whatever the coach says.
Well, we know
outside.
the rain has actually stopped. It's a bit of desert rain. It comes in sprinkles for a while, not too far from Gurgaon. That's the kind of rain we get at this time of year.
Exactly.
It's not the nor'wester from that other unfamiliar place called Kolkata, that it comes and completely ruins your game in the month of April.
As here, the point is, as long as the dust settles, we are happy about it. That's about as much rain as you want.
Yes, well, we'll let the dust settle on the discussion for the moment. Ajinkya Rahane, is he playing differently as Ajinkya Rahane, the batsman, now that he's got this leadership role, which obviously was thrust into him?
I don't think so. I think whether his form is good or bad, I don't think it has to do with captaincy, because again, in an IPL team with Shane Warne coming in, he'd be comfortable taking the role of saying, okay, I'll lead the boys on the ground, you tell us, we'll have a general strategy. And I don't think he's the kind of guy who's going to chafe at the fact that a coach may have a larger say in this. I mean, say in KKR, it was always Gautam Gambhir's team, and very famously MS Dhoni. You know, Stephen Fleming is a support system to MS Dhoni rather than a
True, Virat Kohli at RCB as well. But I'm beginning to think 45 or 40 balls, whether he's been given that role now to say, look, you just bat through. And I did bring up the issue of run rate, and therefore if your strike rate is that much, you're better off not playing too many deliveries. But look, he's made 45 or 40. He's scored at a strike rate of 112. But look around him, Stokes 133, Samson 168, Butler 161, Tripathi 136. I think T20 is changing, where you can now have somebody batting at 110, 120 and still get 175, 180. We saw yesterday. In a 10 runs and over chase, Dhoni made 25 of 28 and you still got there. So maybe we're looking at somebody who can ensure that wickets are not going down. Because I heard Michael Clark saying he thought 45 of 40 was a good innings. So maybe that's how they want to play it with Rahane.
Yeah. One or two anchors around, everyone else batting around 1 or 2 anchors. And that anchor role, if say, for example, if Rahane had gone early, I could very easily see somebody like, say, a Short would have picked it up there, or a Samson would have picked it up and really said that, okay, Samson, just don't hold on for a while, let the other guys have a go for it, because that's how most teams do it now. Keep one person as an anchor till about the 15th, 16th, and at which point both guys go for it hell for leather. Or if you happen to have Sunil Narayan, who doesn't have any other gear, then it doesn't matter really.
I've actually been very skeptical of this route, but I'm starting to think that this year we're just seeing some phenomenal finishing, phenomenal hitting, that maybe it's okay from now on for one person to do that, not lose wickets early on. I saw a stat, if you lose 3 wickets in the first 6, you lose 75% of your matches. Yep. If you lose 4, then you might as well go home.
Yeah, 3 or more is, 3 or more is disaster.
Gone.
Yeah, one person who's very, very bullish on that is a gentleman called Dean Jones. Every time he sits in a commentary box, he always puts the coach's hat on and he just can't take it off.
It's all right. It's okay. he's coaching that other little league there. It's just being nasty. It's a very interesting league though.
But he is very, very number friendly, and he often talks about things like this, to the extent that if he's a coach and he sees 3 wickets fall, he'll almost be pessimistic and say, that's it, the game's gone. I mean, like, Tino, wouldn't you like to be more...
He wouldn't be saying that in the Islamabad United dugout, I can assure you.
He wouldn't be, but A, the rain is back. I've just been told it's back. Let's just talk briefly about Jos Buttler. Now, there's the eternal debate about where he should bat. Definitely has a better record batting up the order, but maybe what little we saw today couldn't be the worst thing in the world as a finisher.
I love him as a finisher.
There's this great this theory in mystery stories in Britain which says the butler did it. Who did the crime? Was it in the library? The body was in the library. The butler did it. So I think really the butler can do it, and he can bat in any position. If you have Ben Stokes and you're putting him up front, you have somebody at 5, 6. And again, I believe that most teams now have these floating batting orders saying this thing, and they again left right is a big matter for them. then who's on at the time? If there's a spinner on at the time, maybe they'll get somebody else in. All this now goes in. They're told that, I mean, between 3 and 6, don't take any position.
I've got a theory on that. Can I? I've got a theory on that. I remember many years ago doing an interview with Brad Hodge. And Brad Hodge had just taken Brett Lee apart. This was Kochi Tuskers, I think. And I said, but why are you batting down at 6 rather than batting up the top of the order? He said, because I'm the Aussie in the side and I bat where the fast bowlers bowl. And I just wonder, the trend clearly is that the spinners are bowling up front and the fast bowlers are bowling at the end. So you need someone who can take on the fast bowlers at the end. Who's best equipped to take on the fast bowlers at the end? The equivalent of the Aussie in the side, which is Josh Butler. So maybe Tripathi goes, you might see Tripathi going a little further up, but Samson goes a little further up. You don't want an Indian finishing. I mean, I'm not trying to say Indians can't, but someone like a Butler is far happier finishing against pace. So maybe they think that he's better off there and have Stokes up.
Taken out of context, you know, if in this wonderful world where we like to clip sentences and use them out of context, imagine calling Josh Butler an Aussie. Somebody somewhere in the world will be going, what just happened here?
No, I mean, Kevin Peterson is more Aussie than English and he played for England. So.
And he's a South African, born South African.
He wouldn't mind. Yeah. But you talked about several scenarios where you play with your batting order, you have floaters. Scenario for you today, Delhi chasing maybe 9 overs, 10 overs, 11 overs. Change your batting order completely?
They would pack it up. So they would go straight off and say Gambhir Munro might still open, but Rish Pant will come in at 3. Yeah. Maxwell may come in at 3, depending. If they last for 3-4 overs, Maxwell will come in at 3.
Morris to a floater?
Yeah, Morris to a floater. Any big hitter. Again, then they'll see who's missing. Remember one thing. If it's raining, spinners won't work. In any case, I don't think Rajasthan spinners are scaring anybody. So I think you'll see all those kind of big hitter kind of guys, Maxwell, Morris, just cram it up at 3, 4, 5. Rishabh Pant.
If it's a shorter game, I can see that happening. I'm just looking down that lineup on the Cricbuzz app. Colin Munro, Gautam Gambhir. I don't think they'll... It depends on how many overs there are. They could well go Rishabh Pant 3, Glenn Maxwell 4, Chris Morris 5. I won't be surprised if they do that.
Yeah.
And that seems like a formidable lineup there.
I mean, Shreyas Iyer can go quickly and so can Vijay Shankar. But they might just go like that.
Yeah.
But we might be going ahead of the script.
The other great news is, I mean, today I was pleasantly surprised to see Shami bowling well in the end. And that's something that hasn't really happened. His test analysis, his test form has never really translated either to ODIs and even more specifically to T20s. And he's always been a fairly expensive player in the last 3-4 years, never given his side value for money.
You know, Joy always uses the expression, which side of his head is screwed on? Is Shami switched on? When Shami is switched on, he's one of the best bowlers in the world. When Shami switched off, Shami doesn't know where Shami is going. And we saw that in South Africa. Switched off in the first innings of the test match, switched on in the second innings, he's turning matches around. Today the Yorkers were excellent. You see it right through the series, people have missed Yorkers. Vinay Kumar missed a Yorker, he doesn't have Shami's pace, but missed the Yorkers. Today he's bowled the third and the bit of the fourth over that he's bowled brilliantly.
And to people who are already set and pretty hard hitters of the cricket ball.
That ball to Josh Butler.
I have a great theory about Shami, you know, and Shami is, as you know, one of the hardest working people in the gym. You'll never see him there. So Adrian Leroux told him that this is your gym routine, you have to do it. So Adrian, first day he waits, he said, okay. He says, when did you do your routine? Oh, I came when you were not there. So he says, next time also, I came when you're not there. So next time, Adrian said, he put the staff and said, catch him if he ever comes and tell me if he's come. So after 3 days, he says, I have been watching, you've never come to the gym. He says, Adrian, bhai, kya bolte hai? Fit to hai na, jawan hai.
So, yeah, when he gets it right, I mean, I haven't been at that level, but I get the feeling that sometimes there are players who don't know how good they are.
No, and he was, the other thing about him is that he comes from, actually plays for Bengal, but he comes from Moradabad, okay, and these are the Badlands. So when he made his debut for the Kolkata Knight Riders, it was actually in a Champions League game in Bangalore. And Bangalore is a big ground, 35,000 people. I mean, compared to what you're doing, and you played for Bengal, at that time he hadn't played for India. And you're coming into bowl, it could be an intimidating atmosphere. You're bowling to Virat Kohli, the crowds are going crazy, Chris Gale. And though he didn't do particularly well, nor was he phased at all, no nerves and all that. So I said, you know, Shami, good for you. First time you're playing this, what you call the official big league. You didn't seem to be phased at all. He said, back home in Moradabad when we played, you know, there used to be people who were gambling for matches whether we played it or not. And I could look up once while bowling and I could see 15 gunmen out there just hanging around. He says, whatever happens out here, nobody's going to shoot me. So that was where Shami comes from. And therefore, very phlegmatic character, very, very difficult to face the man.
But on the subject of someone who might have changed when you make a step up to the national side, one name we haven't talked about, Vijay Shankar. When previous editions of the IPL, it was like, Vijay who? Who's this guy? Where does he come from? What's he done? Now that he's got the taste of the higher level, how changed a player will he be?
I don't know how he sees himself. From what I've seen of Vijay Shankar playing for Tamil Nadu, he's a batting all-rounder. He's a batsman who will help out the bowlers. To me, he's a sixth bowler in the side. And yet India used him as a 4 overs bowler in the Nidahasa Trophy. So if he sees himself as a batting all-rounder, he has to be batting at 6. That's how I think he's got a great contribution to make. He's athletic in the field. He's not a Pandya with the ball. But I see him as a batting all-rounder. It's different when you play for India and come back. You're playing with people who are a higher standard than you. You've been thrown into situations that other people haven't been. I'd be surprised if he doesn't come a better player.
Yes, certainly. Now, again, the rain that's come, remember at the toss, the captains were talking about the dew being a factor. Now, this is moisture of a very different kind. How will it change the situation?
It does, because ball will, if there's any moisture at all, and especially it'll go out to the field, firstly the ball will get soggy, it'll get larger, gripping will be a problem. Also, it'll skid on, so you won't get any turn. It actually sometimes helps seamers because it just gets them a bit faster. It just
And then quicker onto the bat too.
quicker onto the bat, but then it goes fast as well. But spinners struggle, and they, you'll see them now with big towels behind them trying to clean it up.
With all the troubles in the Rajasthan Cricket Association, I don't know how well maintained this ground is, and I don't know how well it drains. It looks very good. I don't know how well it drains. You wouldn't have had a lot of rain in Jaipur. We're now getting into April. So maybe the water table won't be great. So it'll probably go down, but I don't know. If the drainage is good, it won't affect it that much.
See,
It's unseasonal. It shouldn't be at this time of year.
But it shouldn't be a problem. Also, Amrit, who we saw on television, the Amrit Mathur is actually the administrator now for Rajasthan Cricket. So I'm sure he'll be doing a reasonably good job, and this is a big thing for them. The IPL coming back after so long is a big thing. They'll pull out all stops.
It's huge. Sure. They don't want to play there anywhere else. So it's great. It's back in Jaipur. So I think 153 for 7. They're going 8.58, right? Which is the equivalent of just over 170, closer to 177 than any other number.
Oh, he's going back to that.
We've got back to somewhere. From 170 to 170, I don't know.
But you've got to ask yourself, therefore, this is about 175. 8.58, about 175. So is that a good score? And I think, it's all right. But though we saw 200 chase down yesterday, but it's all right.
Yeah, I'd just love to see. And while I said that I like Delhi up front,
You're not changing.
I'd love to see. I'd just love to see a team batting first win for a change, just to make the odds slightly better.
There you go.
See, my big point is that if this happens, that it turns out, and the percentages already are moving that way. It's almost 60 right now. If it is more than 65%, say you're reaching 60-65% over 2, 3, 4 years, then you've got to say this is not a fair game anymore. Because then the toss if the toss makes that much of a difference to the game, that immediately almost 15% advantage to the other side, then it becomes less a game of skill and more a game of luck, because luck is having a larger factor. So I'd like to see that percentage move closer to 50.
That's a fair point, actually. If teams batting second start winning everything, then the toss factor becomes more important. And really, the toss is only to decide who bats first, who bowls first.
It shouldn't be that much of a decision.
We've had 5 out of 5 this season. It's 23 out of 33 in the history of the Sawai Mansingh, and we know many other grounds around the world where it is, and particularly in certain seasons, if dew being one factor.
I've got a theory. Why can't people batting first say, we're chasing? You're batting first, but you pretend you're chasing. And you say, okay, gentlemen, our target is 193, and we're chasing. And play like you're chasing.
Fair enough, good logic, but how do you know what
Correct. So you work out, there's think tanks in the team, and you say, I think 195 is a good score, If you think 185 is a good score, add 10 to it and say, okay, gentlemen, we're chasing 195. Now let's program our innings and let's bat like we're batting second.
There are players who do that. I mean, I was talking about it the other day. Jacques is very good at that. So when he used when he used to open for the Kolkata Knight Riders, he'd always come back the moment he was out or the moment the first break happened. He'd tell the coach, 160 wicket, 140 wicket, 180 wicket, because what happens is it resets expectations and you don't know until you get onto the ground. So what happened was immediately the team knows. Otherwise, on a 140 ground, if you're trying to make 180, you could go down at 100.
So you start off saying, okay, I think that's a score, but the batsman in the middle keep revising the targets.
Yeah.
Okay, you're trying to say something.
He's got his ways of doing things, because every time I think of Callis, I think of interviewing Graham Smith about the famous Wanderers run chase, and you always get a little story out of that. And while everyone was talking about how well Herschel Gibbs batted or Ricky Ponting batted, Graham Smith said very seriously, they go into the dressing room at halftime and everyone's heads down, they've kicked their shoes into the corner. In walks Jacques Kallis, looks around. Guys, I reckon they were about 15 runs too short. Very simple.
A great story.
15
That's
runs
a great
too short.
story. That's a great
And suddenly the heads were lifted. And
That's not why they won it, but it lifted spirits, yeah. It lifted spirits. Yeah, but just to come back to the story, I think that'll be one way of going about it. Then the batsman face the first 3-4 overs, 5-6 overs, come back and say, you know what, let's revise it. This looks like a winning target. And pretend you're batting second and reach that score.
Well, we'll keep this discussion going for now. We'll just have to hope that the rain stops. We have people still pondering over your question. I know that lots of correct answers have come in. Should we repeat the joy factor one more time?
I'm happy to go for it.
Yes, I'm still struggling with that one. So let's have one more look at it. And
Here's a question. Only 3 Indians have perfect records as one-day international captains. One of them, and the first one is Anil Kumble, that's a hint, who won the only match he captained. Who are the other 2? And they've captained in more than one match, if it helps.
And the answer, just to remind all of you, you will get right here on Cricbuzz Live when we are wrapping up this match from the Sawai Mansingh Stadium. The Delhi Daredevils against the Rajasthan Royals back at the Fortress. For the moment, just to remind you, it is raining. It started raining, it stopped, it started again. It's not typical of this time of year and it's very heavy right now. So we can only hope we get some more play so we can get some more banter going. For now, that's all on Cricbuzz Live.